I'd like to remind anybody here, they need to sign in. And I'd like to know an identification of who iPhone is online for the record.
They're connecting to audio right now.
Okay, so maybe they didn't hear me. We got one. Well, when it pops up.
Yeah, I told her I'd take it after.
Good, how you?
Maybe didn't hear you. That's right.
Pauline, can you hear us?
Yes.
All right. We'll move to adjustments to the agenda. I think we need to have an adjustment for a reorganization of the board, and we can do that.
So move for adjust the agenda to reorganize the select board for 2000.
Motion was made and seconded for an adjustment to the agenda to reorganize the board for 2023. For discussion where we want to do that, before acceptance of minutes or after.
Adjustment to the agenda.
Moving for before.
Okay. Motion was made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
This time I make my motion.
Yeah, go ahead.
Under part of the reorganization of the board for 2023, the Westminster Select Board, I move that Katrina Hamilton be chair for the year 2023 for the Select Board. Yes. Thank you, Mel.
No, I'm not going to be here.
No, can't take me anywhere.
It's true.
It is true. Well, 6 years. So bad.
A second. Motion has been made and seconded to nominate Katrina Hamilton as select board chair for the 23-24 year. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Well, actually, it's your meeting now.
That's right. So I'll make the motion.
Yeah, no, it's your meeting now.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion.
I'm out of here.
And thank you very much. I make the motion that Stephen Major be the vice chair of the Vermont Select Board for the 2023-2024 year.
All set.
Motion has been made and seconded to nominate Stephen Major as vice chair for the Select Board for the 23-24 year. Any discussion? All right. Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Three, all, one.
At this point, I move that our esteemed former chair, Jason Perry, as our new, he's not here though.
Let's nominate him.
I actually do. I want to nominate Dan Crocker as the clerk for the 2023-2024.
I'll second that.
You got out of that one. I never got out of that one.
Motion has been made and seconded to nominate Dan Crocker as select board clerk. I don't know who's going to do that.
Jason.
You don't get a choice if you don't do it.
No, you don't.
I
had to do it.
I was here and I
Twice.
didn't have a choice. So, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All yours?
Moving on. Acceptance of the minutes.
Katrina, sorry.
Ooh. Yeah,
This was-
can you keep me in line?
So another adjustment to agenda.
Yes,
I would like to have a place on this meeting, probably under new business, where we acknowledge the generosity of the town meeting and the new the tasks they have given us to complete this year, including the money they gave us. But
I second that.
There are, it's important to keep those forward.
Second.
So under six C, D, really, or six C one. I just
How
put
about
it.
E?
Oh, yeah, well, just, it depends if you're going into executive session or not.
You said do business, you got a D already. C1 would be something to do with the road, I would say. So E.
Yearly plan from town meeting.
No, you're fine. Have at it. So you made a motion.
I second.
Have a second. To make an adjustment to the agenda to add line item 6E, yearly plan from town meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on. Acceptance of the minutes from February 22nd, 2023.
I move the minutes as written.
Seconded.
Question.
You would have to abstain.
I will abstain, so I was not here.
Just fine.
We should, but we don't.
Should I sign them?
Oh, isn't he? No.
Yeah, but those are the minutes when he was not here.
Oh,
true.
that's not there,
So I
yes.
would sign them. Okay. So motion has been made. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And one abstention. Communications and public comments. Anybody?
This is when, if you're going to say anything, this is
Oh,
when you
all right.
speak.
Yeah, I've been told by several people in town, there's one gentleman that keeps complaining about my yard. He has called the,
Just state your name.
You just state-
Melissa Rabjoy, sorry. He's complained about my dogs, he's had the sheriff's at my house, he complained about my pig, I gave it to a neighbor. He's complained about my grandchildren, now he's complaining about my dog, my yard. I plan on putting a fence up at one end of my yard this summer when it's feasible weather. I have moved some stuff around, my truck broke down, so I couldn't move stuff out. I've done it for years. It's not that I'm trying to aggravate anybody, it's not that I'm trying to be a bother. I've actually helped people came and got stuff that they needed. I didn't think I was that much of an issue. I don't go to meetings, I don't complain, I don't bother anybody, so I don't know what the gentleman's issue is, but I just came to let you know that I do have plans of doing something different, it's just gonna take time. And the other neighbor, when the police came to my house several times, they keep saying that the properties are joined, they're not. That's a different property, but because he's complaining about my property, he's complaining about that property, and it's borderline harassment now. I don't know how to get rid of the issue. But I am planning on putting up a small fence on one end. I don't want to enclose my whole yard because I have grandchildren that live there. I feel they should be able to walk down the road to the pool or see the neighbors go by and wave, like when Russell or Peg or somebody else goes by, or see the town trucks working, they enjoy that. I have to say the town crew has helped me out a lot, and I've done what I can for everybody else. So it's just too bad it has to come down to this.
I think his biggest complaint is that it feels like it's a junkyard, and according to the ordinance for the town and the state as well, anywhere that collects stuff
Yeah.
is called, regardless of how big it is, does qualify. So
Right.
And there is a permitting process. I don't know if the sheriff informed you of what the process was. was?
No, he
or-
just told me I needed to put up a fence or something. He was decent,
Yeah.
but, it's not, it's not just because I have a lot there. It's because every time he goes by, there's pictures being taken in my house and everything else. It's just, he told me once he stopped, at the beginning of last summer, and my dogs were on a chain. And he stopped, and I was there, and a friend of mine from Bellas Falls, and he says to me, I hope these dogs aren't getting abused like the last ones your mother had here, because they were in a cage, which they were in a big enough cage. They had dog houses, hay, food, water. But I hope you're going to take care of these better and walk them and take them for a ride, blah, blah, blah. And I looked at him and I was like, have a wonderful day. And I smiled. And he got mad. And then he started calling me. You know, I mean, I can name 10 places right now that have metal in their yard and cars, and I can give names and I can give addresses and I can just hurt everybody that I know. But why am I going to do that? You know? So I am going to put up a fence. And I moved a bunch of stuff around yesterday. Some of it's not even metal, it's stuff that I use or the kids use. So I don't know. But I just wanted to let you guys know I'm working on it. I don't feel I need a junkyard license because I'm not buying stuff and I'm not selling
You
stuff.
don't have to, not in the state of Vermont. It just has to be a place where it collects, if it's not agricultural use, is how it's worded.
Yeah.
And I am trying to get more clarification, so I'm not gonna make any recommendations for how to move forward until I have that clarification.
Yeah, that's fine.
Somebody else knows more than I do.
I think if it continues, not on your end, if Paul keeps coming to us, I feel like we should take our ordinance, give it to Larry, to our attorney, go over the ordinance, get a legal opinion on it, and then look at the property and go, does this meet that ordinance?
Oh yeah, there's
If in his
metal
opinion
there.
it says it doesn't, this is a dead point as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, there's metal there, so it wouldn't meet.
There's metal at my house.
There, well, no.
There's metal at everybody's house.
The
This is how it goes.
last,
And I don't want you to think I'm like against,
no, the
that's
last
not what I
town,
mean at all. I just want a legal opinion to know.
yeah, the
where
last
we
town
stand.
manager that was here, he's like, just put it in the bushes or something, so that's what I did. I had a bunch more than what I have now,
Yeah.
but I had it in the bushes, so
The-
they
the-
couldn't do anything.
The
But,
taking the pictures and like that is harassment as far as I'm concerned. That takes it a little too far. I didn't know that. That's the first I heard.
well, that's because I don't complain, I don't go around telling everybody everything, you know, I try to stay to myself.
Yeah.
But I just get to the point where I wanna throw my hands up in the air, and it's like, somebody came to me and they said, he's trying to get you out of town. Well, that's been my family's property for years, I'm not going anywhere, I have nowhere to go.
Nobody can force.
So, I just, you know, but I am gonna work on it, I don't want everybody to have to deal with my issue with him. My grandkids, he accused them of riding four-wheelers up on Newcomb Road, they didn't even have a four-wheeler until they got older. And then they had a little tiny one, and he said, oh, they're up there riding four-wheelers and tearing up my property. They never rode up on his property. They rode from their house to my house, that's it. So, it's just, I don't know why he doesn't like me, he doesn't like me. Simple as that. It is what it is, I'll deal with it. I'll deal with it.
If he keeps harassing
Yeah, but there's not really, it's not you guys' problem, it's mine. So I'll deal with it, but I just want to let you know I am gonna be working on putting up a fence and stuff. I'm just not gonna do my whole yard, I'm not gonna fence in everything. It looks trashy because there's toys all over it and everything, but whatever.
Can I say something to Melissa's defense?
Sure.
Okay. When I decided to sell my property,
you. Thank you.
there was all kinds of metal and things out back. My husband saved, he used it, you know, for this and that and the other, just like everybody else. But I had to get rid of it according to the realtors. So Melissa came down and was very good. She's always been very good. And said to me, can I help you? I know you're not well. And she said, and I won't charge you a penny. And she doesn't, and that's why she's in the predicament she is now. She's helped so many people, and she's never received any compensation for it. And you can't feel that way and everything. And if she needs a permit, that's fine, we'll get her a permit. If she needs a fence, we'll get her a fence. But this gentleman is sort of setting up a precedent, I can see. If they can make her stop, there's other places in this town that are terrible. So we're just gonna walk in and bother all these people. I don't like what they do, so I just, get a complaint. There goes, whatever values. I came here 62 years ago from Delaware. It was a shock of my life. First, it was,
Good or bad?
it was good.
There's no one answer.
My husband had lived in this house until he died. Yes, still died there for 85 years. And I was there 62. So when the wind blew, when we first got this place, the back door opened and went out to a shed and everything. So we worked to get it better, but we always had good jobs, so we had the one to do this. Whereas Melissa's working with Vera and everything. And I think she's a good person, and I think she deserves a chance. Get her business up there. I know I wouldn't know what to do with all this stuff. And I don't have much of a chapter. So I would really like you to take it into, that she's a good person, she's trying, she has grandchildren that are going to our school. One little girl is a very good student, she's an A student. So you gotta take a listen to this survey. And I know you will. Did you leave any metal?
Not much, no, but I'm gonna have some nice fires, thank you. So we're just gonna wait for clarification on what we do.
I think we should send the ordinance to Larry and have him look at the property and see where exactly we stand.
Agree?
I don't think we need any motion for that. We can just send it to him.
What about other properties in town?
Unless somebody's complaining about other properties, I guess I don't think we go looking for problems. Right now, we have somebody complaining about this one, so we deal with what's being complained. Just buy it.
I agree. There's no reason to get other people upset in the same situation.
We may find out we don't really have any problem. Neither do you.
Thank you
We
very much.
also may find out we do, but at least we'll know
Right.
where we stand.
Thank you very much for coming and expressing these opinions and providing these facts and observations. Very important that we have everyone's side.
I've
for decisions
lived
made.
next door to Melissa ever since she was a child.
Thank you very much for coming.
I second what she said.
All right, any more communication, public comment?
Just quickly, Madam Chair, I want to welcome Stephen Major and Dan Crocker to the board. Looking forward to working with them. And since everyone's here tonight that we're here the last time, I just, for you, Millie, I just would allude to section 4 of the minutes that you all should have, where we thank Craig Allen, Nathan Dugas, and Jason Perry did an extraordinary job last year as the chair. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And the report, by the way.
Yeah.
Apologize for being late. I had some issues on the phone that we dealt with.
Is that how we refer to you, as Madam Chair, Ms. Chair? How do we want to do that?
Is that your shoot down on Morse Brook Road?
I didn't know.
All right, moving on to unfinished business. Adopt the personnel policy. So I'm going to table that because Bill, you're at CLCC on to have a discussion. So,
sorry, does that mean she wishes to come to a meeting and discuss with us?
Well, we have options. He is available on the 16th. To meet with anybody who wants to discuss it, or she can arrange Zoom at another time. In person on the 16th, and we don't really have to do it.
It's 16th of March,
Always got a
Yes.
hand up.
right, March 16th.
Yes, Pauline?
Can't hear you.
We can't hear you,
She's
Pauline.
muted. Is she muted?
It says she's muted.
Said something.
Pauline, unmute yourself.
Okay, I just did. We can hear everyone. Well, I can. I can hear everyone but Katrina. Is there a mic that's closer to her?
Also, could the host let Sarah Waldo in? She's trying to log into the meeting.
Yep.
Do you want to switch places with me so you're closer to it? Try it, too.
Alright. So, okay,
Can you hear her now?
can you hear me now, Pauline? Alright, so the personnel policy,
We'll just table it. We'll table it. I think we should table it until you get that information, but we've tabled it like 5 times.
right, I know, so the question is because the next select board meeting will be after that, do either of you want to participate? It's not a requirement, it's just, she offered it up, so.
I'm sorry, who is
Jill,
she?
Jill Muir is, I don't know her, she's HR, she's the HR specialist at VLCT.
Okay, and she wants to help us rewrite our personnel policy.
Not necessarily rewrite it, I had reached out to them to make sure that our sick leave compensation was what it should be per Vermont law, because they changed it a couple of years ago. And so she got the policy and she has some recommendations and suggestions. So,
Can she do that within the format of a regular meeting, knowing that she doesn't have the whole meeting, just she has a
maybe,
fragment of it?
I haven't asked,
And she could
but-
come on Zoom for that to get us all here and not create an additional meeting.
okay, I will ask. I'm okay with that. We don't need a motion for that, do we?
You,
No.
as chair, you're setting the agenda for the next
Okay.
meeting.
All right, thanks. All right, moving on to the ARPA scoring sheet approval.
We skipped B.
Oh, wait, skip B? Oh, the 5-year capital plan. All right, so we should make a list of things that we should put on our 5-year capital plan that we need to be thinking about and addressing. Yes, Ally?
I put a list of ideas
Oh, you did.
in your packet. It's just stuff that I, off the fly, I did not add the garage because I don't know, I know he's got heat coming in, but I don't know what else you're gonna do to help that building. So Chuck might wanna do a list of his own for the 5-year capital plan. Well,
Is this something that we would want to form some type of loose committee for each one? 2 or 3 people to just visit, make a list, figure out what we need, what wants, needs, whatever, or try to work it as a whole? Seems like it'd be a lot of work as a whole if we broke it down a little bit.
Any ideas?
I was thinking, just specifically the town garage, big enchilada, in terms of, what a big piece is, something that we really have to plan out over multiple years. And then that would apply also for, the town has some expensive equipment, or anticipates replacing expensive equipment over time. Really great to get a good heads up about what that is, what money is saved for it, or what we might continue, how we might borrow or purchase such equipment. And so clearly the town garage and road facilities are a really big part of that. And then some pieces are really small, porch repair somewhere, that would be nice to have. It might not be a 5-year plan. It might be something we want to do in any given year with available funds. So some of these are really quite small, and some of them are massive things that we really need to have a plan that we might be presenting to next year's town meeting and that sort of thing, or might even be going out for bond form. So there seems to be in this list here, a differentiation between big ones that will be multiple years and smaller ones that we need to do, but maybe we just need to do this year. And so they become not really a 5-year capital plan, but let's check the cupola this year, and then see what needs doing with it. So difference between maintenance and big capital stuff.
And I think adding to that list, we should have purpose for some of these buildings, because some of them are just sitting there and falling apart, and they should have a purpose.
Well, that's why I was
Or
thinking
hit the
of
real
the kids
estate
on the,
market.
that's right.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
that would be,
it's an unpopular opinion, but yeah.
if we did that, that would be that would be simply how do we, that would then move something like a Westminster West Town Hall from let's paint it this year to what do we do with it on the long term, and move it back into this capital plan spot. But if it's do we need to replace some clapboards on it? Well, we just do that. We don't want to,
Right.
even if we were to sell it eventually, we don't want anything to decay. And so I think this list, and thank you, Alec, for that, but it seems to be in 2 categories, from the great big ones to the little tiny ones.
Just trying to make a list to get
Yes,
things
no,
moving.
no,
That's it.
Thank you, Alan.
I
Thank you very much.
I think we need to if we have this as a discussion action on now, we might just write down the great big ones, and then the other ones are maintenance items that we do, that we might wish to have a town manager to help us organize, but it would be town maintenance stuff.
In the 2 years I've been here, we've talked 5-year capital plan multiple times. This is the first time it's been put on paper. So this is just the very beginning of where we're gonna move with it.
This was nice to get on paper and see it. In my business, I have a building and grounds expense, and then I have capital, which is something I'll depreciate over time, which is the big one. So this looks like a lot of its expenses, some of it, and I agree with Stephen, we need to break that out, figure out what the big ones are and what the little ones, because the little ones we might as well just do them. That's an expense, you just do it. Comes off this year. The bigger things come off, that's a capital. So a capital plan should be this is an expense, a building and grounds expense that you just do, and then the capital. And of course, you have to figure out what a cost is, where there is a breakdown at some point where it's building and grounds, you expense it 1 year, it's capital, it goes over. The other issue that I haven't heard is, I remember last year's town meeting outside, Chuck got up and said something about the town garage, and that to me is like, that's the capital plan. And that needs to be addressed. I think the facility, what I saw, is pretty decrepit and behind, and I think that's where we need to be focusing some of our energy on that, seeing, Chuck's already done a ton of work. I think we need to get going on that, because that's just gonna be one of those things, you kick it down the road, it's gonna cost us a whole lot more money. And as I've always said, it's hard to do things up front sometimes, but it's harder to wait and really get hit, so.
Yes, Stephen?
I was just thinking, maybe we ought to break this down between those 2 categories that you mentioned, between things that are over $20,000 and things that are under, or some breakdown.
Yeah,
So
maybe
that-
10,000.
whatever, you know, so we can at least sort them. And then we have a roughly small list of very important things that we want to figure out what we're doing, whether we're going to taxpayers for authorization to do them.
Do we have a, something in the budget for maintenance of the building, like yearly? And that's what most of these should be coming out of. And then the capital stuff is something that we need to look
I
at normally.
don't believe that the I might be wrong, but like the North Westminster Town Hall, that is not included in building maintenance stuff. The building maintenance was mostly focused on this building. I mean, I don't know, that was just my impression. And
There's
maybe it's just
$1,000 in the
because it
budget
gets-
for West. For the West Town Hall, there's $1,000 in the budget for that one.
Well, that doesn't cover anything.
And the north,
Nothing.
there's nothing there.
We did what,
You did
windows and some
windows
roofs, but that was a
And
separate,
fix the foundation.
This is
North Westminster.
Northwest Street.
you got.
Oh, sorry, Chuck.
So I met with installation guy once for Craig in the North Westminster Community Hall. Because they were looking for, you know, what that was gonna cost. And so they must have had money, we had money in there at some point to do that. So I don't know where that's at or what it's earmarked for or whatever. But, and I never got the total of it, but I'm sure it wasn't cheap to do blown-in insulation in that entire building.
Right.
So, you know, there should be, yeah,
Jason?
thousands.
I feel like the town garage should really be separated from this as far as, if we're gonna put money into something, I'm just gonna use a heating system as an example. That heating system that we have, I'm assuming we've got coming, can be picked up and moved to a new building.
Right.
Much of that building, I feel like you're just throwing money at it, and you're not gonna get it back. So, we either gotta commit to doing something with the building we got, or we really gotta look at, like you said, coming to the voters at town meeting with a proposal, which we were, when I say we, as a group, we're going that direction, and then it kinda stopped. But I just hate to keep dumping money into something that is just not adequate now, and it's not gonna be adequate in 5 years, and it's definitely not gonna be adequate
I agree.
past that. So, when I mean separate, I mean it's not like maintenance-y stuff. You handle maintenance-y stuff, you get it, keep it as best you can. That's gonna be a large project. I look at that as a large project, but it's a large project that we need. It's not something, it's not really a want, it's a need.
But realistically, even if we commit, right now, tonight, we say, we're gonna build a new town garage, you're talking 5 years before that's really gonna happen.
5-year plan.
There you go.
Right, so that's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
we need to actually
Commit to
start it, yeah.
But that's what
I
I'm
agree.
saying, though, is, so we gotta continue to do what we gotta do to utilize the building.
You need?
We should, well, we should have.
It's a fine line
There's a
between,
certain plus down here.
it's a fine line between taking an old building, and I did this for years at my old sugar house before I built a new one, is doing what you need to keep it running, but don't overload it and throw your money away down the money pit. So it's a balancing act. And I think, you know, we have to have a plan to balance our act and move forward. If it is gonna take 5 years, we need to get on it and start seriously doing this. This is a serious project that needs to be done.
Yes, Stephen?
I just, to perhaps lend some closure to this, I think we ought to have a 5-year plan that would include items for the town garage, the town equipment, and all 3 town halls, as they are the real estate that we owned and us the most expensive bits. And then we can perhaps break those down somewhat. We own them, and post office. So the post office is real estate too. And so real estate is expensive, and all those could be in a 5-year plan. And maybe the post office is jolly and we don't need to do much to it, maybe. And so it doesn't have a big budgetary implement, but certainly each of the structures we own, including the garage, should be part of a bit of a long-term plan. And then equipment is, because it costs so much,
So of course, we already have a capital reserve,
And
so
that's,
which helps.
yeah, and that's part of the plan, is that we have a reserve, great, and maybe that's nicely balanced and all, but that would just be in the plan, that's all hunky-dory.
Just spelled out, right. Where the buildings, obviously, we don't.
Yeah, yeah, so this is mostly a real estate issue.
Right.
Can I ask a question? Oh, sorry.
Paul?
I'm not looking to start a discussion on it, just curious because of my time spent on the board previous years. Does the community hall in North Westminster have a public occupancy permit at this time?
I don't believe so.
Not that I'm aware
That
of.
has not changed.
I don't believe,
That's all I wanted to know.
no water, no heat, no sewer, no, it's a shell essentially at this point. Can I just have a quick?
Yeah.
Did you ever hear back from the state of Vermont on the piece? Nothing, crickets?
The last I talked to the state of Vermont, our salt shed is actually owned by the state of Vermont, and the land it's on, there's 3 acres there that butt up to the interstate. And I talked to them to see if we could purchase it. And that was 6 months ago, and they were still working on it. So.
In a committee.
What's that?
It's in a committee.
It's in the committee, yeah, exactly.
I was just curious if you.
Yeah, no, that's where I left it, and I poked them again, and they're working on it. So I think that means just go away, but, you know, maybe they'll forget about it.
They probably have.
My fear is that, you know, the state sells property all the time like that, so they could sell it to a developer and put solar panels in there, until you get your salt out of there. That's what they choose to do if we're not on it. So it's one of those things, I give them a break, and I will continue to.
I only asked because it was kind of key to location. Maybe not, yeah, it was close, it was pushing borders when you were looking at where a building location, so that's the only reason why.
Yeah, no, I definitely, well, we definitely should.
And we should own it, regardless.
Absolutely.
So do we want to form a subcommittee to work on this project? Or Dan is nodding.
I think if you break it down, it would make it a little more palatable to be able to.
You break it down between those items?
Well, between each building, two or three people take the post office, 2 or 3 people take this, and just figure out what the needs, the wants, and the condition it's in now, and bring it back to the, maybe not the next meeting, maybe 2, I don't know.
Would the committee that worked on the town garage be willing to try to do that again?
The last committee, I doubt it.
Okay.
They were,
I know,
it wasn't good.
I know.
What do you think? You're on the committee.
Okay, Paul, I get it.
I feel as a new select board member, I don't know enough about the town garage, that we ought to have a meeting there, if there is a space for a meeting there, or if it's needed.
I would invite you guys to come down and take a look anytime that you feel you have time, you get a hold of me.
Is that okay to go by?
Of course it is. Anybody.
He did have an open house there a year ago, was that about a year ago?
We did, yeah, and I wouldn't mind doing that yearly, it's just.
Doesn't take long to see what we've got.
But I would invite you guys to come down and look at the facility, the equipment, and I'll show you what we're talking about with some of the things. And,
If one calls during the workday, if you could call the town garage number.
you can call my cell phone, 802-289-3559, night or day,
Well, I do that.
7 days a week, whenever you have time.
Just he may not answer if he's busy.
No, I'll call you back. I call everybody back.
You're a brave man giving that number out during mud season, Chuck.
That's fine.
They find it one way or another. All right, so
Table it for now.
table it for the next meeting.
Get through some of this.
Let Stephen go look at the town garage.
Well, I guess my suggestion would be that we say that we will have a capital plan including those items, the garage, the equipment, and 3 town halls and post office.
Mm-hmm.
If we just say that we're going to do that, then we can move on to selecting people to be involved in those, in items there. So I guess I will make a motion that we have a 5-year capital plan that will include planning for the town garage, town equipment, the 3 town halls, and the post office.
Seconded.
We have a motion to create a 5-year capital plan to include the post office, the 3 town halls, and the town garage,
And the town equipment.
and the equipment for the highway department. It's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right, moving on. ARPA scoring sheet and approval. Do you want to speak to this a little bit, Paul? I spoke to, Stephen probably hasn't seen it, and probably neither has Dan. It's not in your packet, I don't think.
Thank you.
I do not remember that at all. I don't know.
This is gonna be long and
Is this something we just have to approve before we?
Yes.
Yes.
So, yes, it's here for approval.
Okay.
Sorry, I was giving you time to read it. And there's like 3 different sections. And Paul and Jim can speak to it. I helped write it, so I'm trying not to be
Take care, Dan.
too involved.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So if you have questions, I kind of put Paul on the spot.
I have a question.
Yes, Stephen.
Who's on the committee?
Myself, as the chair currently, Jim Mattel is also on, Katrina is our clerk, Linda Fawcett attends many meetings, and Chuck is also a member from the start. Cole Streeter is also, and we have a guest that comes in from time to time. I'm not going to give you her name at this point. She is in the minutes because she hasn't actually joined. But she's been advisory to us, and she's helped us implement, or give to you to hopefully implement or adopt this guideline policy and application, because to be quite honest, and I'm not good at mincing words, so I'm just gonna say it like it is, we were criticized heavily, at least it came to our attention, through various emails to myself and through public conversations, that we were tracking, we were monopolizing the money and favoritism towards where the monies were going, and just not even worth going any further with that. But so in a step back, we said, okay, time out, we're gonna change the way we do things, try to keep people a little happier. And we've been fumbling down the road a little bit up until just recently. We did take a extended winter break till the families have time for the holidays, and now since we've come back, Jim and Katrina have created this draft, which has a few changes to it this evening as well. And hope we came here anticipating that you all would have seen it and had some questions, but that doesn't seem to be the case. But
Just one question. And again, this is fantastic. So, and again, thank you for all the work you guys do on this and have done on it, Paul, Jim, and everybody. So, just for everyone here, how would one go about submitting this, and what time frame are we looking at?
so the hope is from the committee that there'd be a black and white paper available here at Town Hall for pickup. They walk in, go somewhere, whether it be to Kelly's window or whatever, and say, I want like this application for an ARPA proposal. With also the Town Hall's help, of course, maybe a digital form, a PDF through email on a website. I'm not very good at that stuff, so I'm kind of speaking out of school, but those are the two ideas that we had as far as public being able to get it in their hands.
And when could they hope for a turnaround once you guys get a decision on their proposal, I guess?
So, maybe I should stop talking and let the author of it speak a little to it first, but proposal would be filled out. Somebody has to become a facilitator. That's pretty much the base to this, or an administrator maybe is a better word. Instead of people coming in and saying, I'd like money for a play about bees, and then just walking away and thinking that you all are gonna award the money to them just for asking. This is gonna make them responsible for how it's gonna happen, how it's gonna, what money amount is being asked for. They're also maybe have to show with some transparency how they spend the money, that they spend all the money. It has a lot of this stuff built into it. They used a template from another town in Vermont to create this one and streamlined it in Jim's words a bit to make it user-friendly. So hopefully this takes out any of the criticism and the accusations of past, and it also puts it in your laps. With the decision the committee made, and my suggestion was, we don't hang on to anything. We're just advisory, we're an ad hoc committee. The money's in the general fund, the select board has all the authority to spend it on any legal expense that the town would normally, or has incurred, or anticipates incurring. The only thing that's kind of forbidden is you can't earmark the money. You can't say, in 2025, we're gonna do this bridge, and we know that our end of it's gonna be $200,000. So today we wanna say, we're setting aside $200,000 for that bridge project. You can't do it. It's not advisable by anybody, or allowed by our.
Thank you.
And so, somebody picks up an application, they give it back to town hall, it'll then go to your committee.
Yes.
Your committee meets how often?
Once a month.
Once a month.
15th.
So,
Usually.
within 30 days, would you, at each meeting, when you receive a application, would you make a decision on that application?
We don't make a decision.
Would you make a decision to recommend?
We're gonna score it, and if it
It's to
meets
score it.
the score, the minimum score, then it's, either way, it's gonna go to the select.
Then it goes to the select board, so then we're looking at sort of 6-8 weeks after they bring it into the town hall, that they may have a decision from the select board. If we're able to make a decision at the next appropriate meeting on that. So it looks like it'd be about a 2-month turnaround between their application and their being authorized.
Jim, you got some input?
Yeah, he's chomping at the bit.
No, I just have an idea. No, I think those are good points, and the timeline, it seems long, I admit, but we don't meet that often, and no one's wanting to, I don't think, but the packet you have, there's 3 pieces to it, and Paul mentioned changes, I did some cleaning up, found a lot of typos and things, those are my fault, so I apologize if you want to know. Nothing major at all, like spelling and things like that, but there's a guideline that hopefully will explain to people how it works. And one change I made is, if you look at it, it's called Proposed Application Guidelines. On page 2, item number 3, committee recommends to the select board. And I'm proposing that we're gonna add to that, recommendation to the select board for that board's consideration and decision. To make it clear to the person filling this out that we can give them hugs and kisses, and that doesn't mean you're gonna give them money. That the decision happens in one place, so we wanted that to be clearer than we've had it made in the past. Then the second piece is the application itself, and it's pretty straightforward. Who is it? What do they propose to do with it? But the important thing there is they've got an initial cost for the thing, and where's it gonna come from? How much is ARPA, how much is coming from somewhere else, and what is that other place? But also, if there's ongoing costs, how are those being covered? Because we don't wanna put you in the position, we can at all avoid it, of giving someone money when in fact it's gonna be an ongoing demand, and that's not budgeted anywhere. So we want the applicant to address that.
It's a one-time show.
It's a one-time thing. So what we're saying here is that any ongoing maintenance or other continuing needs, what are they? And then the third thing is the scoring, and there were some duplications in that might have been confusing, I apologize for that. But we've got, looking at how is it gonna contribute to community resilience, which was part of the federal, I don't know what I wanna call it, the federal reason for doing this. The second thing is, what's the strategic value to the town? Does it line up with the town plan goals and what the town is trying to do? Does it have a support and demand in town? And the third thing is how feasible, I had the awkward word of the executability, which I'm not sure is even a word. So I'm gonna suggest we change that to feasibility, which is a little more meaningful. But there again, is it just an idea or is it something that's ready to go? How is it gonna impact the town? Is it gonna lower tax rates or is it gonna raise them, et cetera? So those are the things. We would look at that, and that's in the application, not because we want the applicant to score their own proposal, but because we want them to understand what we're gonna look at when we make a recommendation to you. And so then you would get the application, when we're done with it, you would get the application, you would get the scoring sheet, which is how different committee members scored it, and what the total was. There's a place on there for us to put notes about any major points that committee members saw that either they thought were important or that influenced their decision-making. And whether we're recommending it for approval or not, or somewhere in between.
Executability is a word.
Is it a word?
It is indeed. It's impressive.
Doesn't mean we're gonna use it.
Okay. But good word, Jim. It does fit exactly the way you.
So.
Thank you so much. This is, for me, it's
Hopefully
terrific.
we just want it to be transparent, and we want it to be able to move so that when you get it, hopefully you're getting it with some answers, not just more questions.
One of the things we expect out of it also as a committee is that people stop having the illusion that the committee is the decider. And they have absolutely had that perception probably up until right now.
Do we, I'm assuming that in this process that after every monthly meeting, we might get a list of project or projects that you are passing to us with your score.
No, you'll get the application.
And we'll get the applications.
Not a summary list.
Yeah.
Because you'll have, as the board, once you receive all of these, you'll have the ability to henpeck them. You can go back to one that you got months ago, if that's the case, in the future. Whether we approved it, whether we scored it, and it met the score or not, you will still have the ability to say, well, we think it's important enough to spend the money.
But we won't be getting every ARPA application as a group, as an entire group, for us to essentially look how to spend our sort of limited resources in this regard. We'll have to make a decision as they come up, sort of one by one or two by two, as they come. So it's, to a certain extent, it's first come, first served. If an application goes through, goes through your process, comes to us, we make a decision, and we don't know what application might be coming 3 months down the road. And that's
right.
So timeliness is clearly critical for those who want to do applications, that they should send them in.
Well, timely, it is, time has passed.
Yep.
And we do have a 2024 deadline that has to be met.
2024 to award the funds, to allocate the funds, 26 to spend it. But those decisions need to be right. And also, to be clear, I think it's clear that the committee's intent that if a proposal came in that's just zero, there's nothing in here that rings a bell for us, you're still gonna get that with our conclusion, and you can overrule it. I mean, we just want people to know that that's the way it's gonna go when it comes in.
They're getting their 15 minutes, so to speak.
Yeah.
The first come, first served kind of bothers me, because we might allocate funds for something that unfortunately, there's a lot of better things that come along that now we don't have funds for. Is there any way to make a deadline to these for the locals so that we can see them all at once? It's not first come, so hey, we've got our deadline, so then we can allocate and meet all the ARPA deadlines, so. the allocation of
That
them.
might speed up the bad ideas flowing in.
So, for instance, Dan, like, so the bridge on South Valley Road, okay, I put in a proposal and we got payment for that bridge. The bridge needed to be replaced then. So if we didn't do it first come, first serve, a project like that, and we waited until the end, we had all these things, that bridge, we would have had to address that, and we would have had to raise that through taxation and not take care of it as it arose. And then at the end of the day, we were sitting on all this money, and the best project that comes by might be an underwater basket weaving school, and we spend it, I know it sounds funny, but I'm just saying, because now you're at the deadline, and now we've gotta spend it.
So if
So
we-
that's kinda, it's a catch-22 kind
If
of.
we get an application and we're like wishy-washy on it, say, and can we just kind of like kick it aside for a while?
We could
Yeah.
table it, I guess.
Yeah,
You can,
that's
for
what we
sure.
want to do, okay.
We can do whatever we want, it's,
You
like
are,
you said, at the end.
There's gonna be
it's-
some no-brainer ones,
Right.
and then there's gonna be
Sure.
some where, you know, so we may kick them out to the end and
And
then we
it's hard for me to imagine how this is all working out, but have been basic town functions like building a bridge that have been funded by ARPA.
Yeah.
Good, all right.
Basically, the town did what I think every town in Vermont did, was when the federal government revised the rules to create what they call the standard allowance, and that allowed the municipality to pull the money into your municipal budget, and they listed 3 or 4 things that you were not allowed to spend it on. And Ally, jump in with me on this if I get this wrong, but otherwise, the lion's share of what the town spends money on by far is eligible for ARPA funding. It still has to be reported to ARPA, what you've allocated from that
Every
pot.
nickel, every nickel.
And then what's spent, I think it's every 3 months, right, or something like that.
I gotta report on them again, April.
Okay, so yeah, you can hold on it. You can say, we're gonna run this one through and then we get reported as allocated. Or you can set it in a pile that says, we're gonna wait, because what the federal government did when they set this up was you can start on spending on day one. You've got until the end of 24 to decide what you're gonna spend it on, and the end of 26 to actually spend it. You could wait to the end if you want to, but of course, you're not suggesting that, I realize it, but you can create deadlines, or you can put things in a holding pattern and saying, we might fund this, but we're gonna wait and see what else comes along. That's entirely up to you.
Do you have a list of what you've already given out and what?
We didn't give
how
anything
much
out, you
exactly?
have a list.
I have a list, yeah, well,
So,
where is it? Somewhere in
No,
here?
I'm
So-
kidding.
There was, the generator at the fire department. Digitized land records for the town clerks, the owls and the TVs here. And that computer, I believe, too, to go with it.
Didn't the highway guards get a
tablet.
tablets for, we keep track of road erosion inventory and culvert inventory.
So where's this list?
And
there isn't a list.
it's,
Okay.
I don't,
yeah.
Well, it's listed.
It could be
It's not-
it could be
it's not
generators.
right now.
Ally would have a list of the ARPA money spent.
Yeah, that's all.
It's in your, you have a balance in your finances.
the highway department also,
It's just, yeah, it won't give us.
Yeah, the highway department
It's
got
not gonna tell you what was taken out, it's, I gave you the revenue part of it.
funding for the bridge, they got funding for a saw attachment for
Oh, here
one
it
of
is,
the
yeah.
tractors,
the tractor.
yeah. Gear for the highway, not the highway,
Fire
the fire department,
Washing machine.
nine or 10 sets of turnout gear, a new washer. I think that's everything.
You just about got it covered.
Well,
Yeah.
So I'd like to address Dan's question.
Yes, sir.
I have made 3 requests for the numbers that you're talking about. I wanted to see money spent, not necessarily on what, I have a running tally of that here. I wanted to see something on paper that showed me the deposits that the town got from the fund. And then I wanted to see the money out. And it did. And I don't have that.
Yes, I gave you that.
No, you didn't. We talked about this. I'll show you what she gave me, Dan, if you'd like to see that.
That's all I have.
I understand that, and I had that discussion with you. I'm not putting you on.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes, sir.
for time, given the returning back to the unfinished business on the ARPA scoring sheet approval, I'd like to revert back to this very fine document and motion that the board accept the ARPA scoring sheet approval as presented and reviewed by this board, with the exception, as Jim Mathis said, that he was going to add some additional comment on the committee recommendation regarding the select board. Unless I misstated
Yeah,
that, Jim.
there's some typos that I'm gonna fix, but,
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the ARPA scoring sheet application with corrections. Any discussion?
I'd like it back.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Well, I should abstain because I helped write it, so I don't count. All right,
Well done.
moving on. Town manager hiring committee.
Chris Potter got called out again this evening.
Okay,
What's that?
so,
Chris Potter got called out again this evening. He wanted to be here. I guess he was chosen to be on the committee. But
So were we just-
anyone else that was chosen, I don't see him either, so.
Have we advertised the position?
Yes.
Advertised as
No,
in some form?
not since the last one.
So and the position is now open. We can legally advertise it now.
It was in the Gazette.
All right, now, Stephen's talking about the manager position.
Town manager.
We're talking about a hiring committee.
Oh, well, let me see what the, getting people onto the hiring committee?
Correct. We don't have a final number or names on that yet? I'm sorry if I'm speaking.
no, go,
in-
because you put it back on here and I thought we were good with it, so take it away.
So who is currently on it and how many more people do
I
we need?
don't have that list in front of me. I would say it's 7 people maybe at the most,
It's
7
in
or
your
8.
minutes.
It's in your minutes.
Yes, so I'm on the committee, Chuck is on the committee, Ally's on the committee.
Oh, yeah.
Kelly and Pauline are on the committee, but
I'm
they're,
alternating with Kelly.
yeah, there's
And
two
then,
of them as one.
So maybe we just approve.
And a former member,
Chris
And it-
Potter's on the committee.
I know that Greg
Was
and or
going
Sue
to be.
Harlow would be interested in that role.
and Susan Roman.
Susan Roman, and Craig, right? Or
Or
maybe he
Susan.
wasn't. And
Craig
Craig
and
Allen.
So you're the only board member on?
Only
Yes.
Now, there will be-
What I read is you were looking for like 2 board members.
It was
past board.
one current member, one past member.
I figured that wrong story.
The board ends up being basically all of us a member by default. Because
Right.
we're,
Because it
we
all
may not
comes
be
back
part of the
here
committee,
anyway.
but it's gonna come back to us, so.
Yeah.
So there's this, Chris Potter was wanting to be here,
Yes, he got called out.
but this agenda item is simply to approve the membership in the committee, or is that done last time?
I believe it's.
It was done last time. It
So
was done at the last meeting.
So membership has been determined of the committee.
The board agreed the committee would meet. Yep.
So, I didn't make this agenda, so I don't really know. If we formed it last time,
And we just,
do we need? So we can just skip it,
Well,
or
I
questions?
guess I'm very eager for the board, for this committee to do its job to the extent of the basics of advertising positions, so we start getting applicants.
so the committee, I think you're jumping ahead. The committee needs to meet, figure out how they wanna advertise. Whether you wanna do it on your own, like we did before. Do you wanna use VLCT? What direction the committee, like ARPA, is like an ad hoc advisory. How do we wanna go?
And the committee was like,
Correct. And then I'm assuming that committee would come to us, somebody, representative, and say, this is, we met, we would like to, for consideration to go this direction, and we either go that direction or we go a different. The LCT will do the whole thing for you. They'll do the search and everything. It's just gonna cost you a chunk of money. But I'm not even gonna say it. So, it cost us a chunk of money before, so I guess it's gonna cost us one way or the other.
It strikes me as a difficult position to fill at this point.
Very.
And that we will need to cast a reasonably wide net with reasonably professional netters to get people, to get candidates to apply. And so if the goal is to get to a good town manager person, then it will need the candidates. And the candidates is probably the sticking point. The committee has to just do a clear job of describing the position and all that in order to do the hiring. I am concerned that we move on those steps for the committee to meet, I guess, and to decide which way it's going and all that.
Yes, Jason?
If the committee's already been approved last meeting, then that's up to the committee to set a time to meet. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong, but one of the problems, I understand that you'd want to spread a wide net. I understand that very, very much, but this is a small town. It's got a small budget compared to most. And where's someone gonna live? That was brought up at the last meeting, Stephen.
Yep.
Yes, it would be awesome to send it out there and someone from New Jersey comes up here and they're amazing. Where are we gonna put them?
All of that has to do, but basically the wider the net, the more likely we are to stumble across that fish that is got, some reason, a spouse works in Keene State College or something.
Right.
Some other, it's gonna take a fairly wide net to find that person who can locate to this area or is already here, bless them.
That'd be great.
And is happy to take a job because we've spread the net wide enough to find somebody who wants to be here. Because we're not paying them tons to move. So it does, I just think the advertising or the process needs to move along.
I sent just for your information, I sent the last ad that we had put out to the committee. I got thanks, Ally, and Chris Potter actually rewrote the whole thing. It's a two-page thing, a two-page deal. He seems pretty excited to be doing this.
Correct. All right, well, maybe
We just have to get, I just thought he got a little wordy with his ad.
Does the committee have any timeline they're working with?
We need to establish one.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. It seems like if we don't establish some kind of timeline, we could be going on for years.
The committee should probably meet next week.
Yeah, so they haven't even met.
And,
once.
right.
Because it was pushed back because of town meeting. It was
Yeah.
supposed to get all you folks on board, the new folks on board.
I think we need to, say, hey, we need to have this done at a certain time so that people have
And
focus and get things done.
I was also asked to reach out to Larry, and I did, and he has not answered the email.
What was that?
Larry, because I thought maybe we'd run the meetings as you would any meeting. You'd have someone taking minutes. It would be advertised that we're having this meeting.
Should be.
And anyone could attend that would like to. I just thought it was basic. You follow open, right. But I was asked to reach out to Larry to see if he would like to come to the first meeting, yet to be determined, or are we just gonna follow the basic select board meeting rules?
Open meeting?
So
Right, nothing, I got nothing.
I have reached out to VLCT about the hiring process again. So, but again, I'm still waiting for a better response than what I got the first time. So they're on vacation. So next week I'll have more info. So I'll bring that to the committee meeting. So, yes, Pauline?
Unmute her.
She has to
It's her.
do it, yeah.
Unmute.
Thank you. It's what I know, in the school world, there's the New England, Association of Schools and Colleges. Do we have a broader base than the VLCT? Do we have a New England or beyond, avenue for getting the word out and getting candidates?
Each state has their own VLCT similar thing. New Hampshire has the Municipal Resource Institute.
So it's reciprocal? I can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
No, Katrina, we can't hear you.
So VLCT shares with other states.
Okay.
And each state has their own thing that's similar to VLCT. Like New Hampshire has the Municipal Resource, I think it's the Institute or something like that. And New York has their own thing, and Massachusetts has their own thing. And you can go on to VLCT right now and look for a town manager position in Maine if you want. So they do share, so it can go broader. You might have to specify that you want it to go broader than just Vermont.
I think we should be putting in Keene Sentinel, all that.
Oh, yeah, paper of record, yes, Chuck?
I just feel that a lot of conversation is,
Repeat.
well, it's for the meeting, it's for the committee.
Yeah.
And if we're gonna have, I didn't even know I was officially on the committee until right now. So, which is great, but I feel like, we should, right now, figure out when this committee is gonna meet. And then tell everybody else. Whether it's gonna be on
That's fine with me.
Monday
Well,
at 1:30 in the afternoon, or?
That was the thing, it was not gonna be held at night, it was gonna be during the day. Right, that was one
Right.
thing we had
Yeah.
decided on.
It's in the minutes.
It's in the
Yes.
minutes, so
Which is,
if you wanna
Regular business
create a
hours
date, I
and-
can email everybody.
And an
Just check
extensive
it.
time commitment.
Yes,
Yeah.
with it, yes.
Does first thing in the morning work for you and you?
Doesn't-
Or,
as
Whatever you
long
want.
as it's not snowing or a day that
Well-
ends in wine.
right,
Come on.
so if we did like an 8:30 on Monday or Tuesday,
Yep, that's fine.
okay?
Yep.
Do you have a preference for days?
Kelly, I just will be without an assistant for 3 days next week. So Tuesday or Wednesday would work for me.
Tuesdays, I think, are better. I mean, just because, you know, Monday, if you have a crisis, you
Right.
come in, whatever, you've got some time to take care of it, whatever it is.
8:30 Tuesday morning?
Tuesday, 8:30.
Good.
Here?
Yes. Yes,
In this space?
At the town hall.
yes.
Upstairs.
I still have a
Yes,
question about,
yeah.
are we gonna set up some kind of a timeline for this, or you
Yes.
guys get this done? I feel like if you have that, you know, generous or something, we can move, but at least they have a focus point, let's get this done by this time. If
Get
we
what
don't have a
done? What are you
focus
saying
point,
exactly? Get what
So
done?
how
By what
about
time?
the committee?
That's what I'm like, I don't know how.
Well, so like,
Maybe after the committee's first meeting, they can say we can get this done in so much time.
Yes.
Because I don't know how long, you know, they.
well, you could
they will
have
get to
the
it.
advertising figured out by next time. We can't tell you that, yeah, within 2 months, we'll have a town manager.
No, I'm not talking about the
That-
town
that might
manager,
be-
I'm talking about getting, you know, exactly how we're gonna go about this. I mean, because it sounds like.
No, it's a good point.
I think by next select board meeting, we should be able to have a clear, concise path on.
Right,
Yeah.
and
We'll
go.
have at least- I can tell you
Why don't
we'll
we
have
get-
one applicant.
Yeah, why don't we get one meeting of the committee under advisement, have you guys report back to the next meeting, and then we can think about that timeline to meet your expectation of urgency. I agree with you completely. And that way, at least you guys have all met, you'll have some direction You'll have, I guess, the chairman and everything set up, and then
I
we
think
can
that's
set the
gonna be
time. I agree with
determined
you.
at the committee.
And then set a time.
We'll determine it ourselves
Just
at
want to make
that.
sure we should plan on
Okay.
weekly, and then if we don't need a meeting,
Yes.
we can warn it.
Right.
Not having a meeting.
All right.
You an applicant already for this job?
Yeah.
Bring it. Bring it.
You have it too.
I do? Didn't see it.
One of the previous. I'll email him. I just talked to him today, so it's new. Moving along. So list of appointments, first draft, the list of appointments. These little things. How much time do we want to spend on this?
You don't have to spend any.
You don't have to spend any time on it. I think this should be looked at and considered.
weeks and
People
weeks
need to be
before.
asked.
Right,
Yeah.
so this is just for info. We filled in, obviously, chair of select board, the clerk. There's vacant things. So if you know anybody,
I think we could
make them
table those decisions for a
next
month
time.
from now,
Agreed.
That works.
or more.
Yep, thank you.
Nothing.
All right. Moving on to new business, the hazard mitigation plan survey from the Wyndham Regional Commission. I don't know anything about this, I'll be honest.
I didn't even put it on.
Oh,
It has to be done.
oh,
Sounds like we have to do it.
yes,
Did you get the front part of the paperwork?
yes, so,
It's the questions at the bottom, I think.
yeah, so which this,
Chuck might have to look at this. These questions need to be answered and then,
so, I don't know, this felt like longer than a 10-minute conversation to me.
Sorry.
what's the deadline on it?
April 28th.
So you're good.
So,
Check it out.
right, because some of these questions, I feel like are not 5-minute questions. You know, they said we could have a 10-minute discussion during a select board meeting. But I don't know how everybody else feels about that. You know, so one of the questions is, how does the town city get information about roads, about the needs and interests of its frontline community members? Please describe any opportunities for engagement offered specifically for frontline community members that you currently provide or that you want to provide if resources are available. What have you already done to prepare for significant weather events in your community and protect residents from natural hazard impacts? What do you need to make that happen? What funding do you need? This seems like a long conversation. Yes, Jim?
I would suggest if you look at the hazard mitigation plan that was adopted last time,
It's all in there.
most of what you're asking here, they had to review last time
Correct.
and answer those questions, and it'll be in there. And there'll also be a description of the process, and I think Wyndham Regional Commission staff coordinated a meeting, pulling people together and having that brainstorming session to
Okay.
answer those questions anew.
Okay.
But it's not all new ground to
So
tread.
it could be a
Right. I
10-minute
was involved in some
conversation
of that when
if we,
Margot, Gita, and Russ and I
Right.
all sat down and came up with a lot of
so
this.
if we table
So
this
if we just
till the next meeting, it could potentially be
Review
10
what you
minutes.
said, review our current hazard mitigation plan, and you'll be able to answer most of that.
So,
Okay.
yeah, someone's just gotta do those steps.
Can we have our current plan in front of us?
Yes.
Or,
It's 80 pages, so,
well, that's the 80 pages.
yes, so,
Yeah, but it's easy.
well, no, that's a different 80-page one, Stephen. So, I'll email it to you.
Yeah, send it to me too.
It's digital.
I can do that. Okay. So I'll table that so that you guys can review it, all right?
Thank you.
A lot of those steps are FEMA boilerplate that you'll find answered everywhere, quite similar.
All right. Manager's report.
Don't have a whole lot, just, I had given you in your in your packet, the finances. It's nothing to make any decisions on, it's just for your information. That's as of today, as of you folks signing the warrants and paying out the fire district. Just an FYI for everybody, per the town meeting votes on Article 18 and 19, I think Article 18. The sheriff's.
18.
Was 18. Westminster town tax rate will increase by 10 cents per thousand. That's just for an FYI. I was wondering, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Chip was here yesterday for getting some things squared away for us. In the, reconciling and looking at, really looking into our finances. And I would like the board to invite Chip next meeting. We have a bunch of little tiny accounts. Bunch of little tiny accounts that would be better if we could just get them, he can explain it better to you. It's like back in the, he gave a good example. So back in the day, $5,000 was a lot of money that the Campbell Fund had for someone in need. Nowadays, you can't ask someone's situation in life. They really can't say, do you get EBT or do you, what's your finances? And $5,000 is not a lot of money in the scheme of things. So I'd like him to talk to you about that, if he could, to kind of move things around so it's a little bit easier.
You find this essential?
We're having,
An essential that he.
yeah, we have, I'm not gonna lie, I think we have 15 or 16 bank statements that come in with piddly money in it. I was just able to close the Westminster meets out. I'll be working with the state on the 23rd with that to get that a final closeout. That was sitting with $50,000 in it that we couldn't do anything with, but we had to let it sit there now to get rid of it. We don't have any other funds like that left.
Is he available for the Wednesday meeting on the 22nd, do you think?
He is. I asked him before I asked you folks.
You need a motion? Because he's gonna charge us the time, right?
Yes, but yes.
So I'll make a motion.
Sure.
At this time, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we invite Mr. Willis Stearns of Nemrick to come and address the board along with the town manager regarding funds and fund placement on Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to invite Chip Stearns to come and discuss our small funds on the next select board meeting.
I think if you had major questions about what you're looking at today, he'd be able to answer those.
Oh, excellent.
Yes.
That's great.
And is there a thought that we might be able to consolidate some of those little tiny funds?
Yes, that's that.
Or make them go away?
Yes, that's what he's trying, I think he had to take, when he was at Rockingham, they had to go through probate.
Yeah, some of them are probably allocated.
Yes, so he can walk us through that.
Great.
Yes, that would be.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion?
Who's in charge of the Campbell Fund?
We have trustees that was voted on. I think one of them that was voted on yesterday. Pete Harrison is one that's on, but I think Barb Taylor ran. And I think Nancy Dalzell's on it as well.
Should they also be involved in the conversation?
Did I specifically say the Campbell Fund? I did?
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay, sure.
No, I'm just saying if we're.
No, that's a good
talking
idea.
about
It doesn't mean it's gonna happen. It's not gonna happen overnight, of course. It's just a discussion for now. But yeah, absolutely, they
It's
should.
important.
Yeah.
Not want to be deleted.
Good point.
Maybe you're not talking about inviting for the next meeting, but maybe a meeting down the road, those trustees, or is that what you're talking about?
This was just gonna start a discussion, but if you want me to invite them, I'll absolutely let them know to be here.
Yeah. I think if we're gonna discuss the Campbell Fund, they probably ought to be.
Yeah, they need to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Further discussion? Favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on, road foreman's report.
Thank you, Alan.
You're welcome.
And thank you for all the work you did at Town Hall, you and Chip.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this last storm was pretty challenging, as you all know, roads are
Thanks, Jim.
soft. It was wet, heavy snow, we lost a lot of gravel unfortunately into our nice stone line ditches, so. Truck number 6, went to ATG, after that storm, the check engine light on, the DEF pump went down. That should be covered under warranty. Truck number 1, had several check engine light, the ABS light was on, turns out it's an ABS sensor. It is out warranty, that'll be a $1,000 bill. Truck number 5 was due for a brake job, we did that in-house, that was a complete rotors, calipers, pads, the whole 9 yards. So that wasn't cheap either. The alternator on loader 1 decided to go out also, all during the same storm, which we replaced in-house. Corey Noyes went to Rutland for a 3-day welding course that was state funded, which covered stick welding, MIG welding, and gas welding, and use of torches. So now we've got one more guy that I can do that. Jason Benson is also capable. Now Corey is also coming up through. So in the fall, they're supposed to have a follow-up course on the same subject, you know, kind of a second, you know, prerequisite, whatever, or what do I want to say? Not a prerequisite, but yeah, anyway. So we'll send them to that when it comes available. We have Bellows Falls' asphalt trailer. It's a heated trailer that will be going around continuing to do cold patching, keeps it warm so it actually is effective. What else? We moved the break room from downstairs in storage over the top of the offices, just empty space. So Streeter came in, put up walls, and we moved the break room upstairs so that we can move the office over, because the more office stuff we're doing now, we're taking on a lot more responsibility, we need more room. We don't even have room for a copier or a printer right now, so, yeah, so that's where we found the space, and we've got the money in the garage fund right now, so that's where we got that from. Paving bids are due in tomorrow at noon. Gage Street, Church Avenue, Oak Hill, Alden Street, and Grout Avenue are up for paving this year. We've notified the Aqueduct Society about Grout Avenue in hopes that they will seek funding to do whatever they need to do to update their water line, because that entire street will be taken back to dirt and totally reshaped. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it collects water. There's no, it's poor drainage. And
Which road is this?
Grout Avenue where the firehouse is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to regrade the firehouse is going to do their parking lot at the same time. So we're going to do whoever gets the bid for the paving is going to work with the fire department, pave that at the same time, work with the parking lot on the other side of the street, because that's higher than the parking lot for the firehouse. So it just creates a big pond.
Yeah.
So we're gonna regrade that whole area and get it so it works the way it should. That's about it. Chloride went from 96 cents a gallon to $1.09. I just got that information today, so. Good thing we went up a little bit.
Do you plan on opening those paving bids tomorrow?
Yes, they do, yep. So if anybody wants to be here.
It's here? You're doing it up here?
Yeah.
All right. I'll have the heat on.
Nice, thank you. We're used to it, sorry.
Any other questions for Chuck? Moving on.
Thanks, Chuck.
I have no reason why we need an executive session. Anybody? All right. I had a little note somewhere. Stephen, what did you add? Yes, okay. The
Well,
planning items
yeah.
from town meeting.
Yes, the tasks from town meeting.
struck me as important and somewhat overwhelming. And I guess what I'm looking for in this item is simply to perhaps a list of those things we're directed to do from town meeting. And maybe a little clarity from my mind as well. The obvious one was we now have $120,000, if I remember correctly, to try to get a contract for doing essentially crime prevention, police work, or replacing the sheriff's contract. There's a hand in that there.
Yes, I missed it.
So Jim.
Sorry, Jim.
How about we start thinking inside the box and not out?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was just, it's a job we have.
Town of Brattleboro leases cruisers, we don't own them.
Come on.
We are a host to the state police barracks, that means free dispatching. Any town that hosts a state facility, that's us, so there's free dispatching. We actually have a police officer that lives in Gageville at 337 Saxon River Road, that would, maybe we could recruit him.
Yeah.
And start doing in-house police work with the budget we have and stop going outside.
But we have, that's just, that job, whether it's in-house, out-house, or, even out of state, whatever, it is something we have to do, and actually do quite promptly. I don't know when our current care.
Ends June 30th.
June 30th, so sometime well before June 30th, we gotta make a decision on that.
So we need to have a committee to sit down and figure this out.
Well, what I'm would like to do in this item of new business is simply get, our town meeting has told us to do what? And so to answer that brief question, and then get on to how do we do each one? And that's, there are many good points on those. But there was the sheriff contract issue. There is, and I don't know how much of a big issue it is, but the ambulance coverage issue, whether that is an action item.
I'm just gonna cut in, sorry. Yeah. So I spoke with Cole, who had also spoken with whoever's in charge of Golden Cross. So Golden Cross is not going out of business. They didn't want to sign a contract because they were concerned of staffing issues, but they're not going out of business.
But she did tell me that they were considering. They were considering at the time when I called for a contract. She said they didn't know what they were gonna do. They might have to close their doors, is what she had told me.
Okay, so there's
once again,
conflicting information.
the town to the north of us, that's
Right.
also part of this, is actively seeking to get rid of them because the coverage is terrible. So it's like usual, we all just went out to eat and I'm going out the door, so who's gonna be stuck with the check?
Right.
We are. So it's time to think about, once again, in-house. You have 40 volunteers over here, over half of them, I believe, are first aid, EMT, whatever. Why can't we do our own ambulance service?
So my personal opinion is they're already doing like a record number of calls for the size of their department. At some point, you're gonna have to start paying those guys.
But they're already going. So
Right,
instead of running
but
the
at
rescue
some-
truck, run the ambulance.
At some point, they're gonna stop going.
Well-
Because they're missing work. At some point, but that's a different topic, different meeting. So we'll discuss it at
I
some
know, I'm
point.
just bringing up ideas because you have
Right.
plenty of guys here that can staff an ambulance.
Well,
Right.
if we're gonna talk ambulance, we really need to
Yeah, that's-
include the
That-
Prudential Committee and the firehouse, so
Correct.
they deal with them every single day.
I just think,
Because Cole says it's
I'm just trying to get a list
Cole
of
said
what we
never
have
had
to
a
do,
problem.
not actually to finish that sort of discussion, because clearly it involves other people.
Yeah.
Very notably, the fire department, and also people. But, so what else was there? I mean, the issue of town garage came up briefly, now we've discussed that, but that would be one of those things. There was the $200,000 that was essentially, the voters refused to take back. That's now in our budget. Do we?
No, it's not.
It's
It's
not.
not. No, it's not.
It's not in our budget.
No,
It stays in FEMA.
yeah.
It's in FEMA.
Yeah.
Which is
And,
not necessarily bad. It's not going anywhere.
go ahead.
You just have to have voter approval to use it.
We do have to have voter approval.
Yeah.
So we really should have been, it would have been nice if it was clarified at town meeting, so we could have moved it then. So we either have to have a special meeting or the next town meeting.
There was too many amendments, so it got confused.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I thought they said that the select board could make the decision.
No.
I thought they didn't say that?
It was, well, it was said, but it wasn't accurate.
Right.
If it's in a fund, it needs voter approval to be moved.
And
So why
there,
don't we change that now? Instead of keep kicking it down the road.
It has to, you have to have a special.
We have
to
to have
have
a special town meeting, or where you?
You get
It's-
5% of signatures and you can change anything you want from that happened at that town
I
meeting.
don't think it's necessarily bad that it's sitting there, other than, because other FEMA money will come in that,
Hopefully.
in a period.
hopefully,
So then, a year from now, when you've got a big project you wanna do, because that's what it was said, that they wanted to be used for, unless I misunderstood, so.
So we got a year to figure out what we
Well,
want to do with all
see,
this.
my only concern is, for years, what we've done is rob money out of the paving budget to buy equipment. And this was before this current select board, not you guys, but it was done since I've been here. And now we are so far behind on paving. Well, you sent me an email today that you want potholes fixed. Well,
Oh, I don't disagree with you. The fact is, at that meeting, it wasn't, I don't know how to word it. We didn't know that because it was in a fund, it didn't go back, didn't just go back into the general fund.
no,
It just stays
I
in
understand
the
we're sitting on it, but money that you can't use is the same as.
Well,
not
you have money enough to pay your paving this year. So at next town meeting, the board would make a
we can make an
So maybe-
article.
To move it into
To move
paving.
Yeah, make us a good recommendation, what you want to do with it.
You just have to have voter approval to move it.
It was pretty
I'd probably
clear,
outfit in your bridge fund, you got a bridge coming up that you, I
It was
wish I
pretty clear, Chuck.
wasn't plowing snow that day.
yeah, I know you were, but it was pretty clear that the people in the town wanted that money to go to you, basically.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, so
it's
you
not-
won't have a
wait,
problem, you're
it's
just
not
gonna tell
even
us
me.
how you want to do it.
We got it.
It was
all right.
clear to go towards roads, bridges, gravel.
Infrastructure was
Right,
what.
Yeah.
right,
It's
right,
very
right.
clear
Okay.
what they wanted it used for,
Right.
whether it passed or not.
Which is good.
The enthusiasm of the town and appreciation of money being usefully spent.
If
for
we wanted to
infrastructure
use
is
it for something else, I think we would be going against voter approval for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, so,
Oh, I just have
Yeah.
one other thing to touch on sheriffs, when we talk about sheriffs.
Mhm.
Ally and I got an email from Mark today that I can either meet with him or you can as chair, it doesn't matter to me, but that he disputes things that were said at town meeting and the town's feelings and wants to meet. It was Ally, myself, and him, so it could be Ally and you, and it
He
doesn't
can
matter to
dispute
me.
it all he wants. I called them, they didn't come, they didn't follow.
No,
up.
I agree,
He can dispute it all he wants.
I'm just trying to be transparent. He did respond back. He doesn't agree with our take on the situation, so
right,
at some point in the future, near future, somebody will have to have that discussion.
do we want to invite him to a select board meeting again?
I make a motion to invite, given his comments today, Melanie, I make a motion to invite Sheriff Anderson to our meeting on Wednesday, March 22nd, or any meeting thereafter that is up for his prompt convenience to be here.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to invite Sheriff Mark Anderson to the next select board meeting, or the most convenient for him, I guess.
I was comment on that. Given the sentiment at town meeting, and her statements, Ally, I'm wondering whether, because we're considering alternatives, whether it might be best to have a conversation with the sheriff when a group has met to discuss, what are the alternatives, and maybe are there other bids? And so that he's coming to us, not with us having no alternative to him, but to have, him being essentially competitive bid, or at least a competitive contract, with other alternatives that we might have. So we're not feeling like we're assessing his presentation that night in isolation, because it does sound like there are other ways to get that job done. And we may want to have each person advocate for their offer to get it done and have that decision process in a meeting as opposed to giving him that head start.
Well,
that's my thought.
No, it's a good thought, but just so you're there, I mean, we've had Sheriff Anderson here multiple times. He did reach out to us today. He wants to certainly correct the record, want to give him the opportunity to do that, or at least put himself on the record since he wasn't president of town meeting. The other thing too is, as everyone here can attest to, especially for our new members, you know, he's been here quite a few times, and we've gone over this roadmap. We do have a contract. I appreciate what you're saying. I don't think in any way prejudices him or gives him a disadvantage over if we decide to go an alternative route with your excellent suggestions and those type of things. I think at least having him to come and we can go over the current contract and he can clarify again, especially for you two guys, exactly what his position is. It won't change anything. I'm just saying it'd be good to have him here to address his concerns.
Yeah, I would think he knows that we're town's upset, and we've just thrown a whole lot more money their way. And so I think they're gonna be a little more competitive.
It is not specifically their way.
Right, well, no, we could, okay, let's get that, we could throw more money, we've budgeted more money. They may be a little hungrier, and they may be more willing to work.
That's what I think sparked the interest for him to come now, is he saw the dollars.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it is.
100%.
I'm sure it is. Absolutely.
Otherwise, he didn't get 2 hoots when it was town meeting day, he should have shown up
Well,
to
the other,
present himself.
so here's the other side of that coin, is that, you know, we weren't giving him a lot of money. He was gonna, they're probably spending their time, well, this town giving us a whole lot of money, we're gonna be over there, not over here. Now, whoa, they look, so that's, you know, that may or may not be true.
We were paying them quite considerably more money.
And you still weren't getting.
And we still weren't getting the services. So
there you go.
So there you go.
Contracted for a specific number
We're
of hours.
103 hours a month, and when I gave the report at town meeting, it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close.
So his presence doesn't change all the,
He technically owes us.
his presence to explain himself doesn't change all the predicate
No,
history.
he can address the concern, what he doesn't feel is true was said at town meeting, whether it is or not, he can address it, and they won't, we have till June to figure out. I mean, I don't drag my feet till June, but
It's gonna be like a year.
let him answer it, and he can answer it in front of everybody instead of just 2 people downstairs. I think that's probably a better plan.
I agree. Motion on the floor.
If the, sorry, the motion was about the, having him come.
And discussion.
Oh, I was just getting back to, is there
Okay,
anything else
so-
in that, or under that?
We'll get there.
This-
So, motion's been made and seconded to invite Mark Anderson to our next select board meeting.
Or
Or-
another meeting, if it's more
It could be.
convenient.
Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, continuing.
On the, just on the 6E item about what did we get out, what tasks do we get out of town meeting? Sheriff, ambulance, town garage, hire manager clearly. Was there anything else that needs to be on top of our agenda straight from town meeting? Does that cover it?
That
I mean, it
covers,
seems substantial, but.
right. The voters did recommend that we adopt a declaration of inclusion, but it is not emergent.
Yes, so that could be sort of sometime. That's what, that came out at the end.
And I think that's it. I think those were all the items.
Yes, I guess I was thinking that there was one other little thing, so that's the other little thing. Or little or big thing. Yeah.
Anything else? All right. Moving on. Boards, committees, and commissions. Other business. All right, seeing none. The date of the next meeting is Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023. I guess I'll take a motion.
Motion to adjourn, Madam Chair.
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah.
Can I get a shot of Draxton for a cow? No, Jake's got a, this is for Jake. Oh, these are for here? Oh, Lord, I don't know how to work the alarm or anything.
Thank you, sir.
My thought was
Sorry,
that
that
town
was
meeting,
long.
instead of voting for 120,000 for police protection.
Recording stop.